Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Another Diamond in the Jukebox. I'm your host Maria Lebedo, and today my guest is the creator and host of the Appetite for Distortion podcast, Brandon Weissler. Hi, Brandon.
Greetings, Maria. How you doing? Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's nice to see you again too. And as you guys know, this is my second interview with Brandon. We did the last one. I can't remember when exactly. It was whether it was either at the end of winter or like the beginning of spring, something like that. Anyway, it's been a
Yeah,
while.
a few months ago. It's been a few months.
Yeah. So, and before we begin the interview, I would love to ask everyone to please like, comment, subscribe, and support me on Patreon. The link is below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and start. Brandon, you have a degree in broadcast journalism from Hofstra University. Where is that located, by the way?
Hofstra is on Long Island, New York.
You see.
Y-
Oh yeah, because you told me that you're from New York, right?
Yeah, so I mean, if you for those who are sports fans, it wasn't too far away from the Nassau Coliseum where the New York Islanders used to play. But yeah, it's not quite the city, not far out on Long Island, so kind of in the middle there. So a lot of students would take advantage of going to the city on weekends. You can easily take the LIRR Long Island Railroad there. But it's funny. I grew up on Long Island. I grew up like a half an hour away. I could have gone home, stayed home, but no, I wanted to live away in my dorm. But I still brought my laundry, so my mom would do my laundry. I admit that. I was close enough at home to do that. I was far enough to be by myself, but not too far away where I couldn't get help with laundry.
Yeah, how long would it take you to get home in general?
From
Yeah,
college,
like your dorm.
I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes at the time. I don't know. I think at the time where my mom is still at, it's a place called Dix Hills, Dix, which is a little further out east on Long Island, Suffolk County. Again, for those of you who know. So Hofstra is Nassau County. Those are the two counties of Long Island, and yeah, there's traffic on Long Island, New York. So just got to go on a good day.
I see. Yeah, I even though I have lived on the East Coast. Originally, I'm from Russia, but I moved to the States when I was 10 years old. Have never been back. So naturally, since that was like what 22 years ago, 23 years ago, actually, naturally, I don't really remember. But I did grow up in Pennsylvania. I lived in Pennsylvania from like ages 10 to 16. And then when I was 16, my stepfather at the time got a job in New York, actually. So me, and my mom moved to New Jersey to a place called Plainsboro. And we lived there for 2 years. So I stayed there ages 16 to 18. And then when I was 18, I got accepted into an art school in Los Angeles. And it was pretty fitting that my stepdad got a job here. So me and my mom followed him out to LA, and I've been here ever since, and I love it.
Okay. Well, you got to go back to Russia though one of these days just to see the homeland. One of these because I'm primarily Polish, and I mean I grew up here, but just to see my roots, I would one of these days. That's on my bucket list to go back to see where my family came from. One of these days.
Well, maybe I will. So far, I
I
have.
know it's rough there now, so maybe not now.
Yeah, maybe not right now. From what I know, though, the war primarily is happening in Ukraine. It's not exactly happening in Russia, but
Mm,
from what I hear, the political situation there is pretty rough. I mean, I don't know like all the details about it. To be completely honest, I should really read more about it. But then again, I never really have the time or the energy or like the desire to read all about it. But I don't know. Maybe one of these days I will. And yeah, maybe I will go and visit one of these days. But so far, the two main places on my bucket list is Hawaii, and I would definitely love to go to either France or England.
okay. I finally had my first opportunity in London a couple summers ago with my not even couple, I guess last summer. Time goes by quick. We went to with on my son's first birthday. we crossed Abbey Road, which was just very special, you
I
know.
bet. What
Yeah.
I bet it was special.
Yeah, it was my first. It's so funny. My son's 2 and he's been more places than I've ever been. I never had a passport, and my wife's like, "Get a passport. We're going somewhere," because my she loves to travel. And yeah, so but I've never been to LA, despite doing a podcast about Guns N' Roses. LA bands, all this West Coast stuff. That's also on my bucket list. So yeah, I gotta get out to La La Land, as they say, right?
Yep. Yeah, you definitely got to get out to La La Land. I mean, honestly, it's a great place. Although I definitely think that in order to really appreciate and like fully love the city, you have to like live here. Because the first time that I visited Los Angeles, it was in during the winter break of my senior year of high school. So basically, like half a year, uh, give or take a month before I moved here. And I remember like my first impression of Los Angeles, it wasn't like particularly anything special. I remember that I liked hanging out on Rodeo Drive because I was super into fashion back then. And so like naturally I wanted to visit all of those, high fashion boutiques, and I had fun doing that. I remember that I did go, my mom and my stepdad and I, we did go to Madame Tussauds Museum on Hollywood Boulevard. My memory of Hollywood Boulevard back then is like it's so hazy, but I remember specifically that like my first impression of it was that it was a little too crowded, and I basically didn't really have any time to take it in. And I guess ironically, maybe now Hollywood Boulevard is one of my most beloved places in Los Angeles. You know, tourists and all, like, it's definitely crowded. Definitely a lot of souvenir stores that basically all sell the same stuff, but there are some pretty special spots over there as well. So yeah, definitely visit Los Angeles.
One of these days. No, I've had many offers to, because the people I interview,
Mm-hmm.
and when you come out here, I'll show you around this, that. So it'll happen once my son. I mean, I shouldn't even say once he gets older because he's already traveling. So it'll happen. It'll happen. I'll
Oh,
do the whole Guns N' Roses tour. Everyone's more than one people have offered me that. So whatever that means, where they used to play and Cantor's Deli and all that fun stuff.
I see. Well, yeah, you should definitely come out here one of these days, and I should definitely visit New York because last time I've been to New York was when I was 17, so it's been more than a decade now. So yeah, like I said, almost as long as I've been living in LA, 15 years, 16
Okay.
years actually. Yeah, so it's been a while. Yeah, for what I like saw of New York, in movies and everything, and like on TV shows. Obviously, I have a feeling that I wouldn't really like it because like it's so crowded, and like I have been to downtown LA, obviously, but I gotta admit that downtown LA is not exactly one of my favorite places in Los Angeles. And like it does have some pretty cool spots. I went to see Hanson play at this music venue called the Belasco there last November, and the venue was great. The concert was amazing. The area it was in, I wasn't exactly, I didn't exactly love it, but I mean, honestly, no offense to you or your city or anything. Like I said, I haven't been to New York for like 15 years. Okay, anyway, let's move on to the next question. So, how old were you when you created Appetite for Distortion?
Uh, so I guess I started it around 2016 or in 2016. So I, whatever the math, I'll be 42 in September.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, which is just crazy. So I mean, I think I was around like 33. I'm like early 30s, which is just so weird now to be in my early 40s. I never expected to do it like, my radio is my career. That I expected, but to do what is I don't even know what to call it now. I mean, it was a hobby, but now it's, a passion project, something that I'm really focused on as serious as possible to make a third job on top of my actual breadwinning jobs. So, yeah, I guess I was around 33.
Yeah, that's the same age I am now. I just turned 33 about a month ago. And I started my recorded interviews for Another Diamond in Jukebox when I was 30. So Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that it's been 3 years already since I started doing that. Like honestly, it feels like yesterday's. But
Time goes by fast when you're having conversations with lots of people. I mean, it's crazy. I haven't put it out this episode yet, but when we're recording this, but I just spoke to somebody in Saudi Arabia yesterday who opened up for Guns N' Roses over there. So it's just like to think about early days, and that's when I was a single guy, and now married with a 2-year-old. So it's cool to hear listeners who have kind of, in a way, grown up with me because I was growing up. I mean, you're in your 30s at that point, but it's I still had a lot of growing up to do. So to do that via a podcast through the lens of Guns N' Roses is I don't know if I don't think it's ever happened that quite that way.
well, I mean, you were definitely created something special and something that you were passionate about. So, growing up that way, I mean, it must have been a great thing. I mean, I honestly always think that it's amazing that I came up with the idea for my blog 4 years ago, and 3 years ago I started doing recorded interviews. And my passion for rock and roll basically started out as like me listening to, like Green Day and Red Hot Chili Peppers when I was like 14, and then watching the Runaways movie when I was 18, reading the book that that movie was based on when I was 21. And throughout this whole time, throughout like my teens and my 20s, I was totally obsessed with this stuff. And now I have actually talked to a photographer who knew Kurt Cobain personally, and he was her roadie. She was the first person that I interviewed for my blog ever. Her name is Karen Mason Blair.
You just make contacts. There are a lot of wonderful people out there with great stories, and that's the world we live in now. Of course, ever since the dawn of man, when we learned how to write and carve stuff, we've been getting stories down. But nowadays, with your phone in your hand or everybody able to have a studio at home, we certainly have a nice collection of just what the human experience is like in a variety of ways. So, you're shaping it in your view. I'm shaping it in my view through in a Guns N' Roses-y way. So it's fun. You get to meet cool people that you never would have met if you didn't create this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the same thing. So anyway, did you ever study journalism or like broadcasting or podcasting in college?
There wasn't a thing then, podcasting. It was just radio. I
See,
mean, there was internet radio at the time. Uh, I graduated in 2005, so I guess my years was like 2021 because my freshman year was 9/11. Then yeah, 2020, yeah, 2020, 2005. So it was just radio. And even at that time, radio was in better shape than it is now. It was before that whole market crash in 2008, where there were in the radio industry, especially, I mean, well, but everywhere across the country, there was just furloughs and people getting laid off. And I was lucky to hold on to my part-time radio job I had on the weekends. I just somehow. So yeah, at that time, there was just trying to get a job in radio. Podcasting was not a thing, and it took me a long time to accept this being a thing. Even when I first started it, I'm like, oh, podcasting. That's for people who I hate to say it, but the world is different now. For people who can't make it in radio, but that's a different path. I went that path to be the person to talk between, Zeppelin and the Stones, or introduce Guns N' Roses and talk about the local barbecue that weekend, wherever it is that. But podcasting is very different, and there's so much out there. There's no rules to it. How long they are, how short they are, the theme of it. So it's cool. Just over time, I started with the foundation of me and my then roommate, and then Guns N' Roses, and then yeah, it's very interesting, yeah, to think about college and what radio was and then what it is now.
I see. Yeah, I'm really sorry. Did you ever say what your major in college was?
Broadcast journalism.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely needs to. what you do now. Technically, I do have a bachelor's degree from a design school. I went to Otis because originally I wanted to get into fashion, and I've been trying to get into that industry like all throughout my 20s. I've had internships, I've taken classes, and then after I graduated design school, I also kind of started expressing my love for music more because I had more time. Like I didn't have to do homework all the time, so I started going out more, and I met more people who were musicians, um, who had one past friend who did a podcast, and that kind of inspired me to also create the same things. So yeah, that's how I express my love for music now, and hopefully soon I can get paid for it. Um, hmm. So my anyway, on to the next question. So you've had a long history of radio experience before you started Appetite for Distortion. You've been heard on rock radio stations in New York City, Long Island, West Palm Beach, Cape Cod, and Hudson Valley. How and when did you start working on the radio exactly? And like, what was your first radio-related gig?
So, I mean, if you want to, I still count it college because it wasn't professional yet, but that's where because the Hofstra has a great radio, they still do, and it's gotten better since then, WRHU, because it's like one of the best college radio stations in the country, and I think it was the first one to go 24 hours, like 24/7, because it's, primarily student run. But after that, it's funny because the job that I have now is not, I don't have the same job that I have then that I do now, but it's this by the same employer. So I got maybe a job like 9 months out of college to work for Premier Radio Networks, which is part of where I work now. And they just do a lot of syndicated radio shows and audio editing and board opping, operating the radio board. And so I did that for a little bit. And after that's when I went up to the Hudson Valley, which is right above, like right a couple hours above New York City. And I was there, and that was a period when they had that big the economic downfall. When I was there because I only expected to be there just a couple years, but I was so afraid to lose my job. But I was there at 101.5 WPDH, the home of rock and roll for 5 years. And they have what are called clusters, a lot of these radio stations, and that's where I am now too at iHeart, where there's Z100 and there's WOR, there's Power 105. I mean, there's a cluster of stations. So it was the same thing in Poughkeepsie, the Hudson Valley. So I got to do like adult contemporary at that station there, Mix 97.7, even country I did. 94.3, 97.3, The Wolf. I mean, I said these things enough for they're ingrained in my brain. And just to get experiences because I didn't matter to me. I just loved radio. Rock is my passion, but I loved radio. And I knew I couldn't stay there forever. So, I mean, I tried to move away out west, down south, but something kept keeping me in the Northeast. Oh, I skipped over Cape Cod. I don't even know how that happened. Before Poughkeepsie, I left home after that first premier job that I stopped. I left to go to Cape Cod for 2 years. So because I knew I'm from New York. You're not going to start out in New York. That's the way I thought about it. This is the number one market. Long Island's, a top market. To me, it's like being an athlete. You got to start in the minor leagues in a way. So I went up to Cape Cod and did Pixie 103, Cape Cod's Rock for a couple years, and that was just a great experience. Be on my own and early 20s doing that. But I remember looking and at the New York City website for K Rock, which existed at the time, at the DJs there, and seeing what do I have to do to be those people, and just seeing the ages of them. And one of them was 28. And I said, I got to be full time in radio by the time I'm 28. Because I went there with just a Saturday night shift. Then I would pick up shifts and do more. And I had to pick up other jobs, just non-radio jobs to support myself. So I'd have three, four jobs at a time just to support myself. And then even with when I did Poughkeepsie, the same thing. I only went there on the weekends, sometimes fill in the week, would fill in different things, but I had other jobs to support myself. Radio does not pay a lot. And then after Poughkeepsie, I think I was just juggling so many jobs because I was living in this. I was either living on Long Island or maybe in Brooklyn at the time because I was taking care of my grandparents there. I was traveling from Long Island to the Hudson Valley, New York City, all these different part-time jobs, including Sirius XM, which I worked for the Catholic channel. I'm not religious, but was raised Jewish, so you can insert your jokes there. I didn't care. I was all radio. So to work for Sirius XM to be a board op for the Catholic channel to try to get in my foot in the door there. United Stations radio networks. I had a part-time job editing a rock show. All these different little things. What's gonna give? And just life is funny. I'm there on Sirius XM on a weekends. I told you working for a Catholic station. Not what I really want to do. And I'm wearing like a New York Islanders hat. I mentioned that. And I'm just walking around. There's not a lot of people there on the weekend. And this guy comes up to me, older guy, and we start talking about the hat. We start talking about radio. He's like, I have a friend out in Long Island at this place called WRCN, which was a classic rock station for a long time. And he's like, maybe he can get you a job. And through then, it was just started out as part time, but that's how I eventually got like a full time gig. I did mornings there. I was producer there for a while. I helped build the station that they launched in West Palm Beach. I mean, all these things are like these stations are all dead. This is like years ago, but I mean, I got so much experience there. So I've just had all these different crazy experiences, really. Like, and I'm trying to shorten them as possible because they're just be longer. They just be longer stories of just before I even got to do this podcast. So when I got this iHeart thing, which was just not an on-air gig, board hopping, audio editing, dreams of being maybe on Q1043, they're the classic rock station in the city, but just get into iHeart, the biggest audio company, whatever. And then I was also at the time working at WBAB on Long Island, which is just a classic rock station. Do weekends there as a DJ. And I was just noticing from that and my previous on-air experience, it was just became boring where you're just the guy talking between songs for 30, 60 seconds. People only call the station when you are giving away things. There's no real connection. Like there's this connection if you're a DJ who's worked there for like 30, 40 years. But as like a new person, like it's just it's just a different world. So just to start this podcast with a friend of mine who I knew from Sirius. Well, let's do it. I may have said this the last time we spoke, but I thought it was a silly idea about Guns N' Roses. I mean, yeah, they're my favorite band, but I didn't take it seriously. As I said before, podcasting I didn't take seriously. But this seems fun though. I had tried other podcast experiments with friends before. Seems fun. I have the time. I have the equipment. Let's do it. It was actually helping as a hobby, if anything. And then just slowly but surely, whether it's episode to episode, year to year, just messages I still get from listeners or interviews that I get that I can't believe that I'm getting. Yeah, it's crazy to think that I've been doing it for as long as Guns N' Roses have kind of been reunited since 2016, because that was the beginning of it, just ramping up to the Appetite for Reunion was the name of the first episode. And because we knew it was going to happen then. And then just know these years later. And then, as I'm recording this tomorrow, I'm interviewing. It's funny, it's almost bookended. Charlie Benanti from Anthrax. He was one of my first big guests. And that was only set up through like Twitter. He was just a cool guy, wanted to do it. But now I'm thinking he's so big. He's in Pantera now. He just played that Black Sabbath show. But I'm interviewing him and his girlfriend Carla tomorrow. Talk all about that. And I'm just like, I just keep getting cool opportunities. And I think without these previous experiences that I've all had, I would not be able to do what I'm doing now. All these little things that I've gone through.
Okay, which Pantera member you interviewed again?
What, tomorrow or just oh, tomorrow, Charlie Benanti from the drummer from Anthrax. He's also now drums in the reinvented Pantera. And Carla Harvey was in Butcher Babies. She quit. Now they're in. Forgive me. I will obviously do my research before tomorrow. Oh, the Violent Hour. That's it. They have a new band called the Violent Hour, and they're opening up for Buck Cherry and somebody else. But they're like cool people. I talked to them about, horror movies and Guns N' Roses, of course. I think they both have been to Guns N' Roses concerts together. So just all these little things, little experiences, like the one I told you about, talking to this person from Saudi Arabia yesterday as I'm recording this. One of the crazy experiences that I had was when I was during that first full-time job in Ronkonkoma, Long Island at WRCN, which is now a local news station because they killed it and they just care about money. That there was a listener hosted morning show. This is after like there was a morning show that paid them to be on the air, which is just disgusting. Like it's a whole other story. And he was just so bad, so he ended up getting fired. And the bosses had no idea what to do, so they put it all on me. And they said, "Make this work." A listener hosted morning show where every day I had a new listener come in the studio with me and host a radio show with me. And I had to formulate how am I going to do this, and I would coordinate orientations for people to come in and train them, and I just have conversations with the craziest people from Long Island all over. Like I can do radio with anybody. So it's the things like that. While I still get nervous for interviews, absolutely, I know I can get out of it because I've had every conversation that there is to do. Like I've just from Alice Cooper to people who with one of the ones at WRCN was with somebody with I forget his direct illness, but it severely impaired his speech. He came in a wheelchair and his helper, his assistant, and his assistant was talking, and I was thinking, okay, the guy wants to be here, for this experience. He can say a couple words at a time, and I'll lean on his assistant. And as soon as I turn the mic on, the assistant turns beet red and gets so nervous. So I have to pivot, and I'm like, I can't go to this guy. So I have two people who can't talk right now. So I got to hold everything up, and I just said, let's do this. After, so I didn't want to keep the handicapped guy there as a prop. I just said, can you, every time I point to you, can you just say the call letters, WRCN, and we'll go to commercial? And he did that. And I made it all work. So, I mean, if I can make that work, so experiences I've had, that's the whole point of it. Pre-appetite have helped me very much do appetite.
Well, that's exactly what I'm trying to get right now. I currently work at customer service. That's my day job. I work as a receptionist, but I am doing recorded interviews for another Diamond in the Jukebox as much as I can. Lately, thankfully, I've been getting more of them, but I am trying to get some sort of a paid position in journalism or in podcasting. I should definitely look into podcasting more. Like obviously, like sometimes I'm pretty scared to think that I'm 33. I just got my associate's degree in journalism like a year and a half ago, and I basically just want to start out with this whole thing. But then again, you were pretty much you were my age when you started a AFD. You worked in journalism, broadcasting, podcasting like way before that. But
It takes, and a lot of people don't do it now. And it's, I kind of have like the old man syndrome a little bit, but they don't grind. They don't work as hard. And just because it's very, very hard to get a job in this industry. It is. I am so fortunate. I certainly have not made a lot of money, but it's what I love to do, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. It's like certainly thought about like, can I do this? Should I do this? But I there would be a part of me that died inside. So, and this AFD thing came out of nowhere, and the fact that it's take this in itself, besides the career, has taken time. So all of it takes time. It does. And of course, there are stories where people are just successful right out of the gate. I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that. But just be willing to wear different hats. Learn how to edit. Learn how to do. Just you have to just be willing to do other things. There are people like I just want to do this. I just want to Be a personality. There are a lot of those there that I can just tell, those podcasts where all they do is turn on the microphone and blah, 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 and do nothing else after. That all the work, all the editing, all the graphics, all everything after are done by other people. And hopefully they get, I would like to think they get paid. But just try to be a person of many hats and a lot of things to offer because that's just going to help. It's just going to help everything that you do, make you feel more confident and it's so yeah, so whenever I struggle, I kind of just lean back. I'm like, I went through this. I did that. My God. And during those times, it's very, very frustrating. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm going through that. But I guess that could be said of life a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I definitely, I'm definitely going to continue taking classes. I'm planning to learn video editing eventually once I will have enough finances for those classes. I'm practicing photography as much as I can right now. And I mean, I definitely love podcasting. And, my ultimate goal is to definitely bring myself into a professional studio because I want better quality for my videos. I have paid video editors before to, edit my videos, add intros and outros, but like obviously it's like you said, you have to wear many hats. Like not just to, help your project thrive, but also like if you want to get a job in this business, because so many job descriptions that I've read for this industry, all of them require for you to not just like be able to interview people and do research on their background and stuff like that, but they also want you to be able to do technical stuff like editing.
Yeah, most places are not going to ask for interview skills. You mean you may see an advertisement for an on-air personality, and that's just it. You either jive with the person or have the background or not. Everything is you're gonna get, and that's kind of even though I went the on-air route, I it really was supplemented always from day one with board operating. When I was in Cape Cod, I worked the front desk, to answer phones. There's still to today. God, the amount of things that I do for my boss, in Premiere, like Brandon, can you do this? Can you do that? I've worked on so many different variety of shows, and I say yes. And if I can't figure it out, I will figure it out. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Networking is the biggest thing. Just you never know who's going to help you, who can help you. Just be nice to everyone. Uh, Share war stories, and you just never know who knows somebody else who may know an opportunity who can turn you on into to something that could work. That's kind of been a lot of my career have been just networking, and it's like yeah, they say who you know, but it's not like who you know where you need to know the 1%, as they say. It could be somebody you knew in school once and that say, what are they up to now? Oh, wow, that's really cool. How can I get involved in that? Oh, that can help me too. So you never know. You never know. So more conversations with people on and off the air, the better.
I see. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I also recently started trying to network with more people. Yesterday, I went to a journalist slash film slash um, music industry mixer. Basically, a lot of people who working for or wanting to work for the film industry were there. I did encounter two. One of them is a musician. The other one is like a music producer. Actually, no, he's also a musician. So they both agreed to be on my podcast. So that's good news. But yeah, most of the people there were definitely from the film industry. But I'm definitely planning to continue, you know, going to those events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you meet people. When you interview somebody, they can lead you on to another interview, and it's that's so you. It sounds like you're doing the right things.
Well, thank you. Okay. Okay. Let's see. What was my next question for you? So yeah, so Appetite for Distortion has been running for almost a decade now, and it has over 400 episodes. And do you remember who you actually you told me before? Like you told me just like in, in an answer to a previous question, who your very first guest was, but would you mind telling me again?
Oh, I said, well, now it's 500, over 500 episodes.
Mhm,
No, I mentioned Charlie Benanti was early on. I think that's what you were referring to.
mhm,
My first guest, like significant guest, because I think the first couple episodes were just me and my then co-host. Might have been Anthony Boza, the author,
mhm,
who that might have been episode three. He wrote Slash's, or yeah, I say co-wrote because it's Slash's autobiography, Eminem's, a few. I think Jim Norton's or Artie Lang, might have Artie Lang, the comedian. He's written a few. So I mean, that was a cool thing. You know, I'm like, you're an author, legit author. And to get that episode three where we didn't really have much of a following then. So that's the one I remember as far as being like the first. I'm like, oh, okay, we're not just gonna talk to each other every episode.
mhm,
Uh, then yeah, so like Charlie Benanti from Anthrax, I thought was a big get with early on, and I always thought I'm like, just because you and I work in radio, that doesn't mean we know people like that. How are you gonna get guests? So early on, I'm like, okay, this can happen. And then I think believe me, I do not remember numbers like this. This is just specific ones that have stuck in my head. Episode 20 was Dave Kushner from Velvet Revolver.
mhm,
And that was significant because it was the first time I was ever covered by a media outlet. I had never seen one of my interviews or expected one of my interviews to be in print. And that really like, man, ever since then, that's what I crave. That's what helped me in my exposure. So to get that early on, and something that still happens. It's funny. It happened with an old interview, even though it was a new article. There was maybe came out last month an article about Slash's kids, and they quoted a 2018 interview I did with Slash's son London, who was 15 at the time. And I had to get he was in a band, and I got permission from the dads. I even from Slash and London said I had to ask my mom and dad, to do this. And just so they quoted that, and that was in People magazine. I'm like, People magazine, like that's crazy. It's one thing to see Ultimate Classic Rock and Blabbermouth, and those are Loudwire, those are all special, but to see that there is a potential reach, to see things get transcribed in different languages, very special to see those happen, and to know that that kind of started early on, and that really told me the power of podcasting, because I don't that didn't, I think that happens now in radio, but people weren't paying attention because people weren't giving radio interviews like that. It was just like to promote whatever. But now because of podcasting, people want those those stories, those in-depth stories that you can only get in podcasting. So yeah, it's just been one surprise after another. We'll see what's next.
mhm. Well, yeah, definitely continue working towards it. And I mean, it sounds like you already talked to. I mean, you talked to a great number of very notable people. It's like I mentioned in our first interview, you interviewed Alice Cooper, Dee Snider, John Densmore. So I mean, all of my favorite artists, by the way.
I mean, say no more. I mean, the fact that it happened, and I'm lucky because again, if I didn't work in radio, some of these opportunities wouldn't happen also.
Mhm,
But just, but with that, just because I work in radio doesn't mean these opportunities are going to happen. So I had to like prove myself to get certain opportunities. So like if a John Densmore is promoting his book, through my job, and I'm like, okay, uh, can I have an opportunity, to interview him? If I just had, you know, if I was a bad interviewer, if I had a bad product, that's not my job. My bosses would say no. Like, why? That's not your job. Your job is to conduct these radio tours, not to interview. But that hasn't happened. There are times where somebody gets somebody's overbooked that's so in demand, like an interview, that like I can't get it, which of course I understand. So yeah, the fact that I've interviewed John Densmore and Robbie Krieger of The Doors, my second favorite band, it's like it's insane to me. I can't believe it. I try to I don't know, put myself down by saying, yeah, they're just on the phone or they're just for 10 minutes or something like that. But they happened. I exchanged words, however it happened. So very, continued to be very special. And again, it's not just about that. I probably said this the first episode, our first conversation. It's the fans that I talk to. You know, I did a whole review of the Sabbath show with a fan, a follower of mine, before the YouTube days that is in the UK, lives in the UK, that went to the Sabbath show. So to be able to have a conversation with this guy who I've never met, like we can just pick up a conversation, talk about this thing that we both experienced in two different ways, is amazing. I mean, to me, that's amazing. And obviously, talking to all these rock stars is amazing. So it's just become special. And I can't wait to see what I want to incorporate my son into these things as he gets older. So we'll see. It might be Appetite for Distortion with Brando and Baby Brownstone. We'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, you definitely should incorporate your son into your passion, and hopefully he will share your passion for rock music.
He's got the long hair for it. He has a long blonde hair right now. I was, believe it or not, I was blonde haired, blue eyed until I was like 4.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so we have to now tie it in like a, you call it a man bun, but I guess it's called baby bun.
Mhm.
So I mean, some people think he's a girl, whatever. But it's just he's got. I don't want to cut it. He's just it's so wild, and he looks like a little, like a baby Kurt Cobain just running around. It's just very very cute.
That's so cute. Okay, so how do you reach out to your guests in general? Do you have a specific plan when it comes to getting more guests for your show?
There is no plan. There used to be when I started, I would be pretty proactive. Like I actually would go like Wikipedia pages and see who opened up for Guns N' Roses in the 90s or who played on what record, this and that, and seek people out. Then I would interview them. But so those would happen, looking up, you know, if there's a band I like or artist I like, trying to go that route is going on their website. Do they have a press thing? So those things happen. I'm been fortunate that over time, I will meet guests or listeners that will recommend people that come on the podcast to me. So sometimes I say my listeners are kind of like my guest bookers. Sometimes that happens that they help me book certain guests. But over time, you make contacts. So I'm on mailing lists also for certain PR, you know, marketing firms, you know, friendly with certain people where I see, okay, if so and so is promoting an album, I'll get that album and I'll reach out. I think that happened with like Chips Enough. I'm putting out that episode soon as we're recording this. So Chips Enough from Enough's Enough. I've had him on the podcast before. I think I forget how I got it at that time. I may have hit him up on social media, but this time I get an email blast about their new album. And if, you know, it's for because it goes out to everybody, record radio stations, you know, consideration for radio play, you know, here's materials if you are interview opportunities, things like that. So I'm like, hell yeah, I want to interview Chip again. So recorded with Chip. So things like that just happen, which is just kind of crazy. When an interview just happens like that, because it has, I've been not as proactive, believe it or not, since my son has been born, because I can't plan. Now, like I have to coordinate when my wife is here, so if she can take him, even though I have incorporated him into episodes, he's still a baby. He's 2, so I don't know if he starts crying. I have somebody to take him away, you know, sort of thing. So I have to coordinate. So I haven't been that proactive. However, I'm lucky through all those things. Through yes, I still will go out and look for interviews on my own through social media, hitting people up, but like there was a guy who just a musician. He reached out to me. He said he's a fan of my podcast. I was not aware of him. He's like, "You ever interview Jimmy Nico?" Like I knew the name. He's a singer for this band Hours, and you know, he has a great Velvet Revolver audition story. So I'm like, "Yeah, let's get him on the podcast." And he was also this same guy was friendly with the drummer for Slash's Blues Ball. So I'm like, yeah, I want to interview that guy. So I'm like, this is one guy who I never met, who happened to like what I do, helped me book 2 interviews. So sometimes things just happen like that. And I always give them credit. I always give them credit because I don't want to act like you know, I'm doing more than I am because I'm doing enough. I give credit where it's due.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you should always give credit where it's due. It's the only way. Do you have specific topics that you like to discuss with your guests, and what do you usually like to talk about on your show?
Well, I mean, the Guns N' Roses thing should be somewhat obvious, but I mean,
Oh,
it's obvious. I mean, well, I mean, I say that almost facetiously in a way because people, it's something that I've had to maybe over time that has helped me doing this long because it's not like you turn on Appetite for Distortion and it's Guns N' Roses from the first second to the last second. There could be certain episodes, of course, but it all depends on the guest. So, I mean, it's whatever the guest is promoting. If it's a book, if it's an album, if it's a movie, something. But I always spend a moment getting to know them and trying to make them laugh. Because what's the point of promoting somebody if you don't even know who they are or what they're about? And even if you know who they are, let's make this a different experience. Let's sell this book more than just what's written on the paper. So there's always that. And again, depending upon the guests, what's the 6 degrees of Guns N' Roses bacon there? Is it a large connection? Did they used to be in the band? Or is it somebody that auditioned for them once? Or maybe just somebody who likes them or saw a concert who has this crazy concert experience that they want to share. So there's always that six that's the tie-in, with anything is the 6 degrees. Like I interviewed the voice of Phineas from Phineas and Ferb, that cartoon?
no, I'm afraid I
All right, it's a Disney cartoon, Phineas and Ferb. So Slash was on this cartoon like 10 years ago. He was like in their movie. He did like a music video and for them, and it was I love it. Like Axel, Slash has done other cartoons. Axel's done Looney Tunes and Scooby Doo. I've reached out to those writers and had them on the podcast as well. But like this actor Vincent Martella, he was coming through our job promoting the new season of Phineas and Ferb. And I said to my boss, I would love to speak with him because I can talk cartoons. I could talk. I know he was in The Walking Dead. I have other stuff to talk about that he's there to promote, but I'm also going to get my time talking about Slash and Guns N' Roses with him. And he was so happy to do it. Talked about the experience of making the song with him. So little things like that. So whether it's a Gilby Clarke who's in the band or Vincent Martella who's the voice of a cartoon character, that's always part of the goal. But a lot, the secondary mental health that comes up a lot. That was part of the reason why I even did this podcast or became a fan of Guns N' Roses. There's got to be something more there. So there's a mental health situation with every member of Guns N' Roses, addiction. So those things come up. That happens. They come up with my guests. I'm honest about with my struggles. I those things has come up. Like again, the interview I did not put out yet as this recording with the guy from Saudi Arabia that did. He's from. Oh my God, why am I forgetting everything already? It's like I've been talking so much and I'm like forgetting everything. What is his name? Yeah, Nas. Nas, that's his name. I don't know why I forgot that for a second. Forgetting Winterburn. So he has MS too, and he's in this band, and that opened up for Guns N' Roses. And I talked about my disability. I have a neurological disability called demyelinating peripheral neuropathy. I wear leg braces. I walk with a limp. I walk with a cane. I go to concerts now in a wheelchair. So I mean that came up in a conversation about Guns N' Roses and music. So I mean it all depends on the guest, but it's all surrounding that nucleus of Guns N' Roses, which I like a lot better than if it was just about me. I just did not want this podcast to be about me directly. So those are the topics.
Well, it sounds like a great variety of topics. Yeah, when I talk to my guests, I mostly talk to them about their background, first and foremost, and then about the projects that they're currently working on. And it always happens, as it naturally does with podcasting, that the conversation can go if they're in a variety of different ways. A lot of times, some other topics pop up, like last week I was doing an interview with the lead singer of an LA based like heavy metal slash trip hop band called Dracula. We're in California, and him and I ended up talking about the Museum of Death in Los Angeles for like 10 minutes maybe out of the episode. So yeah, the conversation just kind of starts flowing, and then all of these like different topics come up, and it definitely adds to it. I mean, that's the beauty of doing the podcast as opposed to doing like a news segment. Like you can actually just let the conversation.
You let it go. You do your best to try to keep it, at least I do, as focused with like kind of a line and like a path in sight. So when you do go off topic like that, which happens, whether it's my fault or the guests, that you bring it around. It was recently it was like a challenge, even though I loved the conversation recently with Angry Anderson, the Australian legend from the band Rose Tattoo. And he's just from the get-go talking, just loves talking stories, this, that, and I'm just doing my best to keep it focused and to keep it within an hour. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't want this to be a long episode. I don't want it that if this person can come back. I don't want to be because not everyone has time. I mean, I understand some things happen in podcasts. You can stop and start, but I try to keep it to a half an hour or an hour at least. Every now and then, a special longer one. But just and the guy who recommended there's all about the networking again. So this Australian podcaster reached out to me, very kind. I looked at his guest list and I said, I would always, can you help me with Angry Anderson? I've always wanted to interview him. He's more than happy to do it. I gave him information about Alan Niven, so we traded interview contacts. And he said to me, he's like, it is a real challenge to get him to talk within an hour. Like I love talking to him, but just so those things happen because I'm very aware of those people who just do a podcast and it's like you really are just hanging out. I mean, it's good hanging out, and then there's just like this is a conversation that doesn't need to be had. And like I'm just like we're just staring at the wall with the microphones open and just saying words. So just doing my best to keep things as focused and forward moving as possible. So that's another part of the trick that I try to do, or the recipe that I try to do.
I see. Okay, and my last question for you is that so your website says that Appetite for Distortion has only two staff members, you and Paul, who's AFD's administrator, graphic designer, and contributor. Is that true? You guys only have two staff members?
Uh, it's funny that you said the word staff members like that. Yeah, it's just me and my friend Graham Hall from Scotland. I mean, this really it was just me and my friend Ian who started it, and I really took the bulk of the audio editing and the social media stuff. So I mean, it was mostly me at the beginning, and he would be there as my co-host. And then he just stopped doing it after episode 39. We're still friends. He does his own podcast about military stuff and things like that. But yeah, just doing it myself for a while was a big undertaking and still is. But then it's the networking thing. I think I was on Twitter this one day and looking through Guns N' Roses hashtags, and I see this one link to a YouTube video about this person made a documentary about Izzy Stradlin, totally DIY. I watched it and I really liked it. I shared it. The guy was so appreciative. He made me my new logo, the logo I still use today, and we kind of hit it off since then. Just a really nice guy, and he'd every now and then, just like out of the kindness of his heart, make me a new logo, new graphic. But I think it was last year where I'm like, I want to help me make a website. Like I need to take this more seriously, you know, more professional, more than just the social media stuff. I need to make this more business-like. And we went to a gentleman's agreement. Then he helped me make the website. He helps me with the graphics. Now he's taken over the editing for the videos because it used to be all me, but he has more the high tech. I mean, I use the free editing software that came with my laptop. He's got stuff that you pay for and good stuff. But I still make the shorts and the clips and the little highlights that you see on social media, so I still do video editing. But yeah, I actually spoke to him right before you and I speaking, just to kind of catch up and what our plan is going forward. And we're really happy with the direction that we're going. It's crazy, you know. Just talking about what we can do for Patreon, certain goals for us. It was a goal to hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we recently hit it. So yeah, it's just a two-man band. I mean, I'm certainly doing most of the heavy lifting, you know, all the social media stuff that's on me. But you know, he helps out with the graphics. I give him certain tasks. Hey, can you make this meme for me? You know, so because I'm not great at Photoshop, so he is. So he helps me out with those little those graphics that are good. You know, if it looks like it was made by a 5-year old, it was made by me. If it was better, then it was made by him. So I'm very lucky that this random Scotsman came into my life that has helped me with this appetite for the distortion thing. So yeah, just two staff members.
Well, you guys certainly came a long way together. I mean, wow, 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, that's a lot. Right now I'm very close to hitting 50, which is it's like I said, I've been putting my videos up on YouTube for the past 3 years, and I'm only just now starting to get like a bigger following. I have also recently set up a Patreon account, but I gotta put all of my content on there right now. So yeah, I definitely got to work on, my social media representation on certain sites and marketing, I guess. Yeah, but most importantly, I just want to, continue doing interviews.
Just enjoy what you're doing. That's the most important thing. But yeah, work on it all. I've made posting. I enjoy posting. You know, finding the on this day in Guns N' Roses history, or making a joke or a meme or something to bring the community together, sharing a picture. So I enjoy those things, and I kind of do that the first thing before I start my real jobs. But yeah, Patreon. I mean, there's not a lot of stuff up there for me either. But we spoke about an idea what we can do. So yeah, it's just it's a process. You know, I really didn't start pushing. By the way, that little ding ding. I have my work meeting in just a few minutes, so I will have to say adieu in just a few minutes. But it's all process. Just enjoy it. But I didn't start really doing the videos until 2020, when we were all, quarantined, because it started out as audio only. I'm an old school radio guy, and to have, that's I was putting in. I just didn't really know how to make videos at that time. It was really hard. I was also outsourcing videos and having somebody make it, and it was really expensive. And so I said, let's stop it. And I taught myself with just basic stuff, and then got better and better. And it's just something, again, it's everything just takes time. I had to, you put some money. I'm one of those people. I know you're supposed to spend money to make money. I usually don't like doing that, but usually you have to do that because how advertising. So sometimes you got to put advertising into your videos. I have not done a lot of that, but sometimes it's just a little push. Just be like, okay, more people saw me. And then it's funny when people are like, how have I never found you before? Discovering this, I'm gonna just check out your back catalog. So it's just you keep getting your name out there, but just have fun with doing it, and then with doing it, and then other people will recognize it, and hopefully good things will follow. And so that's what I'm hoping. Good things have followed me so far. I'm hoping for more, but I'm appreciating everything that's happened to me so far.
Well, thank you. That is definitely great advice. And I know that you are going to have to go in probably like a minute, but I just had a thought that I could have asked you for advice for aspiring podcasters such as myself, but I am going to ask you that on DM later, and you can answer that at your own convenience. So,
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, see, I'm multitasking too. I'm lucky to do all these cool interviews, but yeah, now I got my weekly meeting with my job at Premier Radio Networks, talk about the week that was, what's going forward, and then after that, I got to do some people are afraid if they work in the entertainment industry in some degree to talk about their real jobs. No, no. I work for a company that does call monitoring. You know that this phone call may be monitored for quality assurance.
mhm.
I've been doing that for like 15 years to supplement my career. So it's all a grind, but you got to enjoy what you do. And I'm lucky that I'm telling you, because I was a very, 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 very depressed person, and the podcast helped, radio helped me with it. To be in a place where I have a wife, kid, people recognizing my podcast, a cool job. It's if I can get to a place, I'm not crazy. It's successful, subjective. I'm not living the high life, but you can get to a place with what you're doing is just fun, and that's what it's all about, man, or woman. Sorry.
It's definitely really great advice, Brando. And once again, thank you so much. And it's been great having you on my show. I'll be sure to check out your episodes.
Thanks, Maria. You have a great day.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.